Today I was blessed to do an amazing interview with my spiritual teacher, Ananda Abinou, who I've been with for almost a decade now. Um, he's really one of the most incredible individuals I've met in my entire life, and he blessed me with 2 hours of his precious time today. I encourage you all to watch it. He speaks on a lot of things um, that are very important, spiritual, political, across the board. He is an enlightened and awakened man, and I think it'll be a unique experience for most of you to hear him speak. And with that, I present our interview.
Um, so I guess the first place to start. I mean, I've heard you tell the story so many times, but for anybody else who listens to this, if you could just tell about how you grew up and your background and you know and what led you into your awakening.
Okay. Well, briefly, I'll hit the background a little bit because it's really not that important. Uh, and I say that because uh, who I am now is much more important. And I say the other thing because it simply informs people where they can come from. I
Yeah.
am a product of Mississippi, which is one of the worst racist states in the country. I grew up there, and I grew up. One thing that's important about that, I guess, to try to give a view of my mentality where I couldn't look a white person in the face. It was taboo. So when you talked to them, you had to look down.
Mm.
My grandmother, being the loving person that she is, taught me to be aware of my circumstances. And when you're talking to a little kid, I think I was with my grandmother from the time I was a year and a half. You're talking to a little kid, that instills fear. I've seen people lynched, brutalized. One of my neighbors he was kidnapped and taken to a farm and plowed like a horse in the fields. And when he broke down from that, they tied him to the back of a pickup truck and drug him up and down the highway out in front of the black neighborhoods. Well, of course, nothing was done about that. This was just part of the course. So I grew up with this fear until about the time of puberty. And once that energy begins to hit me, I became rageful. So I was angry and I was full of hatred. Um, Funny thing about hatred, hatred doesn't just affect the thing that you claim that it affects. It's a broad spectrum, and it across the spectrum, how you deal with people is funneled through this hatred and this anger, this sense of insecurity, fear. So you are constantly living with these things all the time. You can't trust anyone. You
Mm.
can't love anyone because you can't trust anyone. So that was the person that I became because of my circumstances. Um, this went on for over 30 years. I got into a point where I would just as soon fight you or kill you as look at you. I was that angry. It is to say that anyone, regardless of your mental status, can overcome it if you just do the right things. If you do the right things at the right time, it works out. I had the thing that kindled this whole thing in me was breaking up with a woman.
Mm-hmm.
That started it. That started the energy flowing. That started the anger. And that brought up all these other things. For the first time in my life, Right in. For the first time in my life, I asked myself a real question. Not that I had not asked questions before. The questions I'd asked before, somewhere inside of me, I wanted the answer that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted the answer that would keep me going the way I was going. That's why I say this for the first time was asking a question when I wanted to know the answer. So the question was real. When I asked the question, I got a real answer. And that started this process.
Mm. Yeah, it seems like the pain forced the real question, right? That like,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
because it's interesting that sometimes the end of a relationship, if you're sort of already filled with enough pain, can feel like the end of the world,
Yes.
or like almost like it was sort of your near death experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It seemed that way, and it seemed that way because I was already feeling pretty insecure, pretty angry, and when that happened, I couldn't do anything with that rage because there was a rage toward her. Well, it was directed toward her, but it wasn't her. It was all the things that led up to that moment. And when you are hurt, people want to hurt people. I wanted to hurt her. I wanted to hurt someone. I wanted to hurt anyone. But there was no one in reach. So incidentally, I went to an old girlfriend's house. She was going to work, so she said, "Why don't you just stay here until I get back?" So she left me alone. Once again, there was no place to put this anger.
Mm.
Now, we can think of that in a couple of ways. That anger is nothing more than dammed up energy. The important thing was I didn't have someone else to put it on. So that energy had to go into the question. That energy, once I surrendered, that energy moved up. And that is the thing that one of the things that helps us is when the energy moves up from the base center all the way up and out the top of the head. When I did that, when I surrendered and relaxed, that's what happened. So I was able to hear the answers because I had surrendered all the other stuff. I didn't know. For the first time, I said, I don't know what the answer is. Why is my life the way it is? And something weird happened. A voice said, because you're an asshole. And I had to admit that. Admit that it was something I had known all my life. That I had blamed everything else for my situation. I had looked outside of myself for the solutions to why I was miserable. This was the first time I looked inside of myself and saw the truth that it was me. Yes, all these things happened that gave me the situations that I was in. They happened, but what I did to myself as a result of accepting what happened outside of me, that was the problem. And the next questions dealt with those things inside of me that liberated me. So here we are.
Well, yeah, I've been thinking about that, and I think because probably somewhere along in that questioning was forgiving yourself for being
Yes,
such an asshole.
yes, absolutely. That is a part of it, to forgive yourself. You know, we think of forgiveness, we say you must forgive, but it usually is directed at you must forgive someone else. No, you
Mm-hmm.
must forgive yourself because I was responsible for my condition. Yes, other things happened beyond my control, but I was responsible for what I did inside. I was responsible for not allowing the energy to move so that that rage that was there set in. I was responsible for taking the word of a society. Yes, the society was much larger than I am. The society was as large as America,
Mm-hmm.
the racism and that kind of behavior. You can say you can't, a child couldn't face that. Well, maybe yes, maybe no. I'm reminded of the story of one of India's saints, I think Patanjali or something like that, who arrived at 16 years old. So it's a matter of making the right decision at the right time under the correct circumstances. Learning this is what I did, I could forgive myself for doing it. I recognized that I had done it, did not blame myself, did not give myself the excuse, well, you were a little kid, what were you to do?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's probably true. But to open and walk through that door, that's irrelevant. What is relevant is that I locked myself inside and the forgiveness. And you could feel the body just relax. You could feel a calm coming over. I could feel that calm. I could feel a feeling of a presence in me and something to the depth that I had never experienced before. Full change. Something else very weird happened at that point. This light began to shine. It's like, okay, you've really done it this time. There's this light coming from nowhere. And I realized that the light was inside of me.
Mm.
And the more questions that I asked and accepted the answers, the greater the light shone. Finally, my question was, what is the solution to all the world's problems? And the answer came back like you couldn't imagine, the energy and the light, love.
Mm-hmm.
One simple word, love. With that, everything opened up in me what it means to love. What does it really mean? I thought I knew. Had you told me a half an hour before, you don't know what love means, I would have said you were a lie because I just was so in love and my heart was so broken. I love, no,
Mm-hmm.
I understood. And from that moment on, the world opened up. And I understood what it meant is that now, if you pay attention, there are no questions, there are only answers. Knowledge is everywhere in this world. Everywhere I looked, I saw something new and beautiful. And I cried a lot. I went to a restaurant and a little old lady about my age now, she's probably about 70, she yelled at me and I burst out crying. I think I wanted some oatmeal and I couldn't get out oatmeal. And she, what do you want? And, oh, boo. Very sensitive and laid open wide. And understanding that I had to stay with what I thought at first was a wound, but it was merely a break in the persona that allowed my true self to come through. And at that point, being a big psychology major at that time, the definition of persona came through: mask or false face. That's what it means.
Mm.
And I carried that around all those years. I was a big psychology guy. I never really thought about it. The depth of the meaning of that let me know. What you are is behind what you think you are. What you are looking at when you talk about yourself, you're looking at the back of a belief system. It blinds you. You're actually looking at the system. You're actually believing the hype. You're actually believing the sentences and the energy that you form. I say to people now, that man that walked in that room did not walk out. That man that walked in that room died that night. Now, I don't mean the physical body. I mean by all the definitions of what I am, of what we are. And after that night, I decided I'd take a trip around the world to find out if what I knew to be true were true for all people. It was. We're all full of crap. No matter what the culture, it is taught. We believe ourselves to be these things. It is not true. So we are all thinking we are white, black, Indian, Chinese, male, female. We are expressed as those things, but that's not what we are. We are that which expresses, not that which is expressed. That is a belief. To come behind that and to see who you are and to accept who you are gives you the courage to stand in the world as who you are. It gives you the courage of a Buddha, a Jesus, or whomever expressed the opening of that door stood for what they are, not for what they used to be, but what they are. And that is God itself. Now, some might look at that and say, that's blasphemy. I'd say that's stupid. If God is one and all there is, then you cannot be other than that. Looking through these eyes for the experience of this world, for knowledge to return to the self. Oh, now I can be anywhere in the world and be comfortable. I don't know. I was walking down the road on some island. I can't even remember the island now. And there's a guy walking on the other side of the road, and he yelled across the street to me, "Hey, homeboy, I know you anywhere. You at home, anywhere you are." Like, yeah. Perfectly relaxed, being the only person that I knew there, but no fear, no doubt. It is the translation of the word heaven, leaven, to rise in consciousness, to embrace the higher vibration of thought and being. So, as I said, here we are.
Yeah, I mean, wow, you just said so much in a very concise
piece. The a question would be, you mentioned that you blamed yourself for being such an asshole when you felt all that pain. Do you think the opposite of that could be true, that some people are walking around who are guilty inside for everything, not even what they did, but feeling guilty for what they didn't do or can't do for other people, and they could feel the same amount of pain, and that would almost be the same release for them if they come to that realization?
Yes, if they come to the truth, just accept the truth about what you're doing. But what I find is many people, they are comfortable with the pain because that's all they know. It takes a certain amount of strength. No, it takes losing everything to really accept something new and different. We want to be comfortable, and we have chosen to become comfortable with whatever our internal circumstance is. Okay, I can deal with this misery. This is misery I know. No. So yes, if they recognize what they're doing, it would be the same thing. The release of that energy would be the same. See, the particular is not meaningful because different people did it different ways. So the questions that they have to ask about themselves pertain specifically to their prison. Their key only unlocks their door. It doesn't unlock my door.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. We get to the same place. I feel like we discussed at one point in a lecture that it does seem like it almost takes coming to that absolute low point to make that transformation, and that almost feels like one of the issues that a lot of people have. They say they want to be enlightened, or they say that they're on this path, but they're not hitting rock bottom.
Yes.
And so they're not, is there another path, or
No, there is but one path. There's but one path to the one truth. When Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree, and I can't remember, so I'm paraphrasing, and they say he struggled with this devil thing. Well, all he was struggling with was a division within himself. That was all I struggled with. That is what everyone struggles with. The mind and the assumed boundaries set up within the self are the blocks. So we each struggle with those. I remember the story of, I believe it was Jesus at Gethsemane, looking down on the town, and the devil appeared to him. The devil, the word devil is a translation of the word double, to double think. That is to try and bring together two parts that don't fit. That's what that is. So that's what the Buddha struggled with. That is what Jesus struggled with, looking down in the city and looking at the lights and thinking, oh man, with the power I've got, I could go down there and I could run this thing.
Mm-hmm.
But no, you can't do that. Okay. So he had to come to the end. That end came to him in suffering on the cross. That bottom line, when he says, it is done. He was not talking about his physical death. He was talking about the letting go of the final block. Now, let me say this to you. Here's what we do as people. We think we've come to as low as we can go when we feel, oh man, oh, I just don't know. I'm as low as I can go. No. You've got to go past that last belief that you are as low as you can go. Because you've got to come to the truth about yourself. And the truth about yourself, doesn't embrace all that negativity. That's a negative attitude about where you are. You see, when you lose all that, if you look and stop looking at the loss, you will see what you found. And what you found is greater than you could imagine. What you found is you. What you have found is the entire, see, I could use the word universe, but it's too limiting
Mm.
because we think universe. We think in terms of all the stars and the galaxies that we have here. But this is only one place. This is only one on the beach forever. So we have learned that this reality is all that is. And that's in a subconscious belief that we have. But it is not so. So when you let go of that final negativity of I've come as low as I can go, you, let's say you come so low you come high.
Mm.
You come to the truth about what you are. And what you are feels good. What you are, good isn't even the word. Well, maybe so. Maybe it is the word. When we take the ED off and one of the O's out, we feel God. We feel the whole truth.
Mm.
The mask has been eliminated. So we are afraid to go that step. That's why you have to go as low as you can go.
Can you say again what was eliminated? The audio got weird for a second.
The block or the belief, that negative block of belief. Oh, this is terrible. No, it's grand. It's wonderful. But you have to go beyond that.
So is one of the things that's holding us back, the Buddha called it attachment, right? But
yes,
also, you mentioned, that the answer to everything being love. Well, one of the things I've been coming to has been that, almost everything that we experience in the regular world is conditional love.
yes,
And we're so attached to that conditional
yes,
love with our parents, with our siblings, with our significant other, with our children. I mean, hopefully with children, maybe is where we touch a little bit of a natural unconditional love. And is that part of the hitting bottom is that realizing you have to let go of all conditional love to embrace the unconditional love?
yes. Well, to put it in a nutshell and to make the process much simpler, you have to let go of everything you think you know.
Right.
Everything you think you know, and some things that you don't know that you think you know. See, a part of conditional love comes from having been born helpless and into a family. All right. So it says, you love me if you hold me.
Mm-hmm.
It says, you love me if you feed me. That gets mixed in with the truth of love. I tell a story. Now, this is just a story. It's about a truth that limited words can express. In the beginning, the mother god slept. In a moment, there was a flicker. Father God was born. Something happened in Mother God. Instantly, with that flicker came love. That flicker is a reflection of what I call Mother God. It's not a woman. It is that thing through which all femininity is modeled upon. That moment happened. So love happened, period. So whatever falls before the eye of God is love. And when you come to that, you realize that all the limitations you had on love. If you love me, you would do this. If you love me, you would do that. Well, that may be true, but the idea of that is incorrect.
Mm.
You see, if I love you, I understand that we go on our own paths and we've got our own things to go through to come to who I am. I've got questions I've got to answer that are on my journey. Oh, if I love you, I allow that for you. If we come together and we both are on this path and we both love each other, then we don't have any problem. We both understand. And we both will not injure one will not injure the other.
Mm.
But if you don't understand, there's injury. I injure myself by what I think of what you've done. You may do something that I feel badly about. But you had to do that because that thing was in you and you had to see the truth about it. Now, what is it I have to do? I have to learn, oh my God, what is the real reason I feel negativity about what you have done? Because this is the only way I'm going to clear up what's inside of me. Ultimately, we come to learn we are one. We are one searching many paths to come back to the one.
Mm.
The love that I have felt that is contaminated by my insecure doubt, fear, pain doesn't exist there. And then we can sit down together. We don't have to worry about all that other stuff. But we have to go on the trip first. I have to understand who I am not.
Mm.
You can never understand who you are because who you are is just what you are. You have to scrape away who I am not. And once you release who I am not, I stand there. Here I am. If you stripped all the flesh off of me, my bones would be there. I am the bones. I am the bottom line. If you just strip away those other things, accept the free movement of that energy through your body. The free movement of that energy. You know, it's like we think, oh, I have the right to be angry. I should be angry. No. One of the things I learned in martial arts, you don't have to be angry to fight. You don't have to be angry to compete. And if you are not, if that jolt of energy you feel when someone is threatening you, if you don't turn it into energy, it becomes this incredible energy for the preservation of your being.
Mm.
So the fight then is not a fight. It's not a fight at all. We work together. We're working together. I'm laughing, you're angry. We can do this until you get tired and quit.
We're working together to
For the improvement of mankind as a whole and for the improvement of each individual.
Mm.
At each time when we get angry with each other and want to fight, it is an opportunity for me to look at what's going on. What I want to fight about is that this energy has come up, it's blocked. So when it's blocked, it's like stagnant water. It's poison. You want to do something to get rid of it. So what is the thing that is closest in your mind? Fight. Okay, it doesn't solve the problem. If that energy is flowing, you do whatever you can to avoid that fight. Whatever you can to avoid that fight. And I was talking the other day about how you talk to people. I can come across the worst racist in the world, but I'm going to talk to that person like I am an adult because they're behaving childishly. Now, you might say that is a intellectual realization. That's an intellectual realization for some people. But once you get behind all that, it's not an intellectual assumption. It's the truth. There's a joke. A guy goes to a psychiatrist and he says, Doc, he says, it's like after a month of seeing the guy, he says, you know, everybody tells me I'm inferior. And the psychiatrist says, no, son, that's not true. You are inferior. You really are. So I really am that adult that understands when I look at racist, murderer, rapist, robber, and I see the child. Now, when it comes to our society, we want to talk about solving problems. We've got to understand that about what we see about other human beings. But if we are just like them, if we are just as violent, if we are just as stupid, we act like another child. So what do you have? You have two children coming into conflict. If you got a person who understands and a person who doesn't understand in the fight, it's a compliment. You are a compliment. You are answering a question. You are answering a question. So if we are to move forward in the society, in the world, somebody has to grow up and has to see that other person for what it is they are, help them overcome that in the best way you know how, in whatever that situation is at the moment, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about it. Was actually in a discussion with Maria the other night, and was thinking similarly. We were discussing some grammar issue in something she had written.
Yeah.
And I was telling her how I thought it would be better or would be more appropriate. I had no attachment to that idea at all.
Yeah.
And there was a disagreement, and I was just like, how do you get through these disagreements in life, like with you know, without all of the aggravation, without fighting, let's say, because I had no desire to fight about the grammar of this thing, Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what happens is the energy builds up and there's no release, because the release in an argument is the other person saying, oh, okay, you're right. And but see, if you never get to that point, if you understand what you're looking at and understand that that person has a reason for what they're saying, right or wrong, you never get to the point that, you see, I don't get to the point because I talk to people, and particularly when I talk to closed-minded people, I know they're not going to hear what I'm saying. I understand that. I'll say what I have to say. I've said things like to a racist, why don't you talk to me? Now, average person says, talk to me like I'm a man. You hear that tone?
Yeah.
I say, talk to me like you're an adult. Not I'm a man. You talk to me like you're an adult. You talk to me like you're a man. Now I put everything right back where it is because I'm looking at where it is. I do not, this is a weird thing to say in this, I do not consider us equals. I consider us equals as human beings. In terms of thought, you have demonstrated that you are not equal to me in thought, in quality of thought. You can never be. Why? Because I don't have these thoughts. This is the universe. So what you're playing a game against something that you can't win against. It is the law of the universe speaking to you. It's not a man talking to you. It is the law. I'm merely translating the law. You see what I'm saying? So when you know who you are, you don't get entangled in the foolishness that fools bring to you.
So sort of, yeah, know who you are, know who you're talking to, and argue in good faith, right? Which is to try to understand, to try to be listening, to try to understand what the other person is saying.
Yeah.
Whether or not they're making a whole lot of sense, but at least you know you're making that effort. Like you said, I think you said, whether they're right or wrong, you know where they're coming from, you know why. Like maybe in Marie and I's argument, which is, it's a silly example, but I think that's why it's good, is that it's not serious. It's not racism. Yeah. You know, I think where she was coming from, maybe her grammar was slightly wrong, but she wanted to say a certain thing.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to tell her what I was correcting wasn't what she really wanted to say. So really neither of us was right. I needed to come up with a better translation maybe, and she needed to recognize that what she was saying wasn't correct. But there's another.
You have also another problem. Her basic language is Russian. Okay. Yeah. And not only that gives us a difference in perception. It's slightly off, slightly different. So now we got another, in using these words, we've got another barrier we've got to overcome. Mm-hmm. So it's at some point like that, you say what you have to say, and that's it. I understand you. I understand others. Why? Because that was me. What I recognized when the voice said what it did, it's like, okay, I recognize all my stuff. Therefore, I recognize the mind of man. That is that linear thought process. That is that pairing that happens in the neurons in the brain. I understand the difference between having thought and thinking. Mm. I know what I see because that was me. I know what it is to have problems with a word because I'm a Black man raised in Mississippi in inferior school systems. I spoke altogether differently. If you heard me speak the way I spoke then, you'd be, what the hell is he saying? Okay, so I understand making that jump to speaking English. Mm-hmm. I understand it because I've taken the time to understand what language is, what it's for, to study the language. So I understand. But I also, the older I get, when there's no one really around, I go back to back to the woods. Now my daughter's mother comes from a town about 4 miles from where I'm from. Mm. We can talk. We know what's being said. So it's like speaking another language. It
Well,
has,
there's a real
mhm.
beauty in that, right?
Oh yes, there's no there's no difference in one language and another because they are for the same reason. Now, what you find in that language, you find a rhythm.
Hmm.
The rhythm carries meaning as well as inflection and that kind of thing in English. And so it is a beautiful flow. I was talking to one of the persons in the group who is uh, he played a lot of music, and we were talking about and what's his name, blues player with the cowboy hats, died in a plane crash. Hell of a guitar player.
Gabe Mouth Brown?
Hmm?
No.
No,
Clarence Gabe Mouth Brown?
white kid, a white kid.
Oh,
Uh,
Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Ray Vaughan, yeah. We're talking about
Yeah.
Stevie Ray Vaughan. He said, "Oh man, Stevie Ray Vaughan plays the blues." And I said, "No, Stevie Ray Vaughan does not play the blues. He plays a kind because when you there's something about that down in the dirt sound of that guitar and the sound in that voice that and the rhythm of that voice can only come from that down in the dirt, dirty Mississippi screen wire playing on a cigar box
Mm.
sound. Not saying that Stevie Ray Vaughan is God. Ooh, I think man, Stevie Ray and Slow Hand, and it's like, yeah, wow, man, I love it. But it's not that. That is the original.
Well,
I,
I mean, with them, it's a whole, you can trace the whole lineage. Like there's that Robert Johnson documentary on Netflix now that's pretty good. I don't know if you've seen it. So like Devil at the Crossroads or something.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
it sort of traces a lot of that early, the early Mississippi,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, single string to guitar, and then talks about, you had your Muddy Waters who grew up in that, but then moved to Chicago, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then that all became an urban electric, him and
Exactly.
Howlin' Wolf and
Yeah,
those cats. And
yeah,
then that also morphed later on. And then you had, Texas guys and some
yeah,
white guys, whether it was in London like Clapton or Stevie, and those guys took, almost you talk about the down in the dirt of the Mississippi. It's almost like at every level they kept just taking the higher level of it,
exactly.
and developing. Stevie's got very intricate melodies and rhythms, but yeah, there's a loss of the really down in
Yeah,
the dirt part of
yeah.
it.
There's um, there's a woman here, a black woman, who she got a band, and she was going to sing the blues. She had an operatic voice, and it was, "I have the blues." No, you don't.
Yeah,
No,
yeah, yeah.
she is as far removed. It's and this is not peculiar only to race that I'm about to say. It's peculiar being and not being. I watched uh, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner the
Mm.
other night. Sidney Poitier says to Spencer Tracy, "You can do the Watusi, the dance, the Watusi,
Yeah.
but I am the Watusi." Difference. This woman, even though she's black, raised in Chicago, rich,
Hmm.
well-to-do, she's not a Watusi.
Well, it's sort of even a difference between Sarah Vaughan and Billie Holiday. I mean,
Yes. Yeah.
speaking of operatic voices, I mean, Sarah's amazing, but there's something about the feeling that Billie brings that is,
Exactly.
when she sings
Yeah.
Strange Fruit, Billie is the blues, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So it's the same thing with what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
See, I have a large problem. Well, I've been doing this for, I don't know, since the 70s. I have searched since then to be able to say this. So I have found a countless numbers of ways to say the same thing so that it is heard. But yet the truth of it isn't heard because it can't be heard. That's why I say, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I mean, there are things in Buddhism and Christian, all those things that tell you to behave this way.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that because you don't know what that means until you come to the place that you understand what it means, and nobody has to tell you what it means. Because now you are the Watusi. You're not doing the Watusi. That's why I say, I'm going to not tell you what to do. I'm going to tell you what to do to understand what you do. That's my whole, the way I look at things. I am constantly teaching, do this, look this way, do this. Now, when the moment comes and that person recognizes, I had someone call me the other night who was trying to go to sleep, couldn't go to sleep, laying there in the dark, stretched out one hand, then stretched out the other hand, and the hands touched. A spark happened in the brain. You have just touched the hand of God. Now you know. See what I mean? But that hadn't come there had they not done the work that they were supposed to do to provide themselves with that moment where that persona cracked and there was the truth. Oh God, okay, good. Let me get off the phone. Let me go to sleep. So it is about, I've seen so many people tell other people what to think. That's why I tell you, I don't know right and wrong. I know what is conducive and what is not conducive. That's all I know. So I can't answer your question for you. What should I do? Some people come to me like I'm a fortune teller. Go see, what was that lady's name? The Jamaican lady? Cleo.
Yeah.
If you want your fortune read, because I can't tell you that. I take that from you. I'm taking away something from your humanity. I'm taking away from you the opportunity to learn and grow from your mistakes. Because then you understand much better, much more in depth when you make the mistake than me telling you avoid that. Now you know why. And you know all the angles of why because you made those mistakes. Someone talked about being successful. Said, well, you make 1,000 mistakes. You only have to be right once. With this, you only have to be right once. But you make the mistakes because that's guiding you toward the right answer. So when you make a mistake and things don't go as you intend them to go, you don't go, ah, the light should come on. Oh, that's not meant. Let me, oh, okay, let me go this way. Oh, you gain more and more. But if I try to tell you what to do, that doesn't make sense to me. That deprives you. You are a human being. You are equal to me in intelligence. We are all equal in terms of intelligence. We don't all use it to the same degree, but you got to help people get to that point of intelligence. We use what? 10 to 13% of our intelligence. 10 to 13% of ourselves. Wow, that's, that's not a whole lot. You know, I'm looking at the marches. I'm looking at people's reactions to each other. I'm looking at these marches and man, the light is coming through. But then I see the darkness come through. When somebody says, yeah, let's take, for instance, Black Lives Matter. When they look and they see a white person saying that in March, yeah, but you should have done this 10 years ago. That's stupid. No, you did it now. Now is the opportunity. Now is the point where you move forward. You're trying to move backward into something that you can never touch again. Not only that, but you make an enemy because you have to relate to human beings. Human beings have feelings, have emotions. I'm not saying emotions are right. Matter of fact, I'm saying, but they respond to those emotions. You might be making an enemy because that person said, well, you know, I did what I did. Now, the hell with you. You know, I don't have to put up with this. What it is, we need to understand. We're talking about black rights. I say stop talking about black rights. Talk about human rights. Don't, you know, it's happening to black people. But when you talk to others, you're talking about upholding an idea at this point of America. You're talking about upholding that Constitution. You can't talk to them about the oneness in God. They don't know. They don't care. They got their idea, their own idea about who God is. You know, God is like me. Jesus is this white guy with blonde hair and blue eyes that came from Africa. You know,
Right.
you know, it's irrelevant. But and Buddha was like this, and this guy was like this. Well, so we can't base it on that. That's too far out. We got to base it on the thing that's closest to us, and that is politically, the Constitution. Some may say we may come across as politically correct. We have to see where humanity is. Right now, we're not in a group, okay? We're coming through a little bit. So you have to come where they are and move forward. I have to come where you are, okay? I have to say, am I not a human being? Well, why are you talking about black rights? What we're talking about is your violation of the law. That's what we have to talk about. There's no such thing as black rights or brown rights or yellow rights or short rights or fat gay rights. There are human rights. And when we talk black, brown, yellow, we are separating.
Right.
Now, I will say this to you as a person who looks white to me. I wouldn't say that out in the street. But it's important that you understand that, but also understand where you are and what you have to do. You're not going to pull anybody forward. You have to encourage people to come forward because they're people. You don't come out and create a problem to solve a problem. You do what's right to solve that problem. One of the things that I've said in my lectures to all Black groups, you have become exactly like the white man. What? There was a man that was brought here way back when to teach slave owners how to control their slaves. That man's name was Lynch, where the term lynching comes from.
Mm.
Brutal man. Okay. He taught people to brutalize their slaves. Okay. What has happened? When you brutalize someone, what do they learn? To become brutal.
Mm.
When you hate someone, what do they learn? To hate. So at this point where we are in time, if you love someone, what do they learn? To love. If you treat someone fairly, if you treat someone like a human being, what do they learn? To be human. And I'm not talking about that just in terms of one group, one race. I'm talking about that as human beings.
Yeah.
When we treat human beings like human beings, I'm going, no matter how you have, or one has treated me, or how they have behaved, I've got to treat them like a human being. I had a woman call me several years ago, somebody I'd never heard of. She had seen me on the street and she called me and she said, I'd like to thank you. Thank me for what? She said, my daughter died a couple of weeks ago. You changed her life. Changed her life? Who is your daughter? She told me the name, but I had no idea who she was talking about. She said, you changed her life about race, about men. You changed her life so that her last year was good. Okay, now what does that mean? I had no idea who this woman was, nor who her daughter was. But when I taught high school, she was a student of mine.
Mm.
Okay. What I did was treat them like human beings. I treated them lovingly and kindly. What did they learn? To be loving and kind people. I had my principal at the time come to me once and said, you know, this place exists because of you. Okay. Well, then give me a raise. But no,
Yeah.
that didn't happen. My point was, I treated those kids like human beings. You know, I had a class in the front where all the rich kids from the suburbs, I taught in a private school. On my right were the Black Pea Stone Rangers, a gang. Over here were the Latin Kings, a gang. In the back of the room were the kids from the halfway house. Over here were the drug addicts. This is my classroom. Now, what I was charged with was teaching. I don't know what I was teaching, or something. I don't know. That's what I was charged with. But what I did was teach them to respect and care about each other by respecting and caring about them as groups and as individuals. This is what must happen. We can't go backward. Human mind wants to do that. That is why we consider it not only our greatest instrument, but it's our biggest enemy.
Mm.
Because it wants to stay with what it's familiar with. And it's familiar with anger, pain, hostility. I want it my way. If I don't get it my way, the world is going to fall. Well, we are in a point in time. The energy of this universe is the breakdown of order. We're in the Aquarian age. The breakdown of order. If you stand on one side or the other, you might say it's bad. Order is breaking down. But order breaks down in order for change to happen.
Mm.
So it is a wonderful thing. This law is in the universe. This law is a part of us as individuals. It has to break down in order for change to happen. And if it breaks down far enough, it breaks down to all that is. And when that happens, it's a good day.
Mm.
So is there, because it's difficult. I mean, I see and understand everything you're saying. One of the problems I see with society right now is that the leadership is actively saying the opposite often,
Yeah.
on both ends, where, you know, you didn't say all lives matter, right? But
Yeah.
as a from a human rights perspective, saying, oh, everyone should have human rights is sort of an equivalent. And one side wants to say, oh, that's actually a racist thing to say, or to say you're colorblind is racist, which is sort of, maybe you're acknowledging the sort of the bad lessons learned, where there's a quest for power on some level,
Well,
to almost enforce what happened in the past against, I don't know.
well, here's the thing about that is it's like when we say Black Lives Matter. See, now we're back to language and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
How is it said? See, it's said as just this statement out there. Black Lives Matter. To someone who does not listen, they are hearing that as a statement that stands apart, as opposed to the way we have been treated. It should be said, Black Lives Matter. See, there's a difference.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that we have been treated as though they don't matter. Perhaps that statement should be Black Lives Matter also, for the ignorant, for those who don't understand implication in language and in voice. But here's the other thing that we learn to understand. You can't say it right for everybody.
Right.
Someone is, and I'll be honest with you now, there are Black people who don't understand what racism is. They don't get it. And that's from having been out of the society as a whole. Okay? I say to the end of it, you've got to do is look inside yourself. Am I racist? No. Well, then that is not my meaning. This is what I'm saying to you. I say to you, if you, as a white person, I don't see color. I'm not going to say you got to see who I am. Of course you see who you see this. That's not what you're saying to me.
Right.
As one human being to another human being, not a Black human being to a white human being. I understand the human condition. You're saying, I don't see all that. Okay. Now you got to be on walking on eggshells to watch what you say.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say, if you're talking to me, don't watch what you say. Say what's on your mind. We will talk it out. We will talk about it because we're human beings. I'm not sensitive about being Black. I'm not. I'm a man. I am a human being. I am God itself. Now, let's talk about it. You don't have to worry about hurting my feelings because we are going, the object is to solve the problem. That's the object. The object is not for us to have an argument. What are we going to do to solve this problem? Okay. When you say all lives matter, of course, we all know that. But we're saying Black Lives Matter because we have been pulled out of the mainstream of life. Someone once asked me, well, why do they have black colleges? Because you guys wouldn't let us in yours. You know, it's just simple. Well,
Yeah.
why don't you disband them? Why? You got white kids going to black colleges now. Surprised the hell out of me. I hadn't been to Mississippi in a long time.
I think one of the problems, I mean, once again, everything you say is absolutely on point. I think one of the issues is that, you know, there is a lack of nuance in any of the discussion, you know?
Yeah.
Like when you say, oh, you should understand the implication Black Lives Matter also, or, you know, the implication of all lives matter, including Black lives, or whatever these implications are. Now we have this cultural civil war happening, obviously. And I just wonder if, and as you say, the chaos and the breakdown in order, and I wonder if there is a larger, if that amount of pain that people are dealing with is causing sort of that crack in the eggshell, that maybe they're going to be ready to open up to a new paradigm of seeing things. And if there is a non-nuanced message that we can start inserting out there, that, you know.
Well, what we can do is be the truth. That's what we can do. Now, in terms of the breakdown of order, this place where we are, called Earth, goes through a series of energy changes. Okay? The energy changes, I don't know, every 12,000 years, whatever that is. We have now the breakdown of order, what they call the Aquarian energy, because it's wave energy. It's not water as people think, which is able to penetrate anything, but we have a balance. And that balance is the Leo energy, the father energy, So what we are having here is a struggle right now to determine whether intelligence ultimately will win, or whether that father energy is going to have to become dictatorships around the world to maintain things. But see, this energy is not just the energy of human beings. When you don't understand, you become a victim of this energy. That's why everything breaks down. But when you are clear, you realize that the energy is for you, not you for the energy. So you're not a victim of it. You remain clear. You understand what it means. You understand its source. Now, one of the things that has to happen is if you look at America, is that Congress is going to have to change. We have to do that to make it change. Now, here's an issue. We're only going to move a few inches. That is our nature as human beings. It takes too much to go all the way to the truth. I say it doesn't, but I look at what's going on and I say, obviously it does. It takes more than people are willing to give. We have to be willing to give it all. We have to be willing to die. That night, I was willing to die. As a matter of fact, I didn't say the part where I had the gun. I was ready to blow my brains out that night. I was ready to die. I had nowhere else to go. that lie of who I was always a safe haven to go to. I had nowhere to go. I wanted to know the truth. Is this it? Is this it? Well, because I asked that question. I said, this can't be it. I look at myself, I look at what I am, and something inside me told me, you're greater than what you think you are. It can't be it for me. When I die, it can't be all over. Now, whether I'm going to heaven or hell, I don't know about that, but I know it can't be over for me when I die. The energy, it gave me all the answers that I needed, and provides me with those answers that I need. Anytime I have a question, what do I do about this? The answer is there. I am still here. I don't know. I've had, 4 or 5 heart attacks, the spinal surgery, cancer, that stuff, that poison they give you to kill the cancer, what is it, chemo?
Chemo, yeah.
And that's just in the last, few years. I'm still here. And my point to those people who are around me, I don't make this point to others who are outside, to say, my group. I do that. I am here because I'm making a point. I'm demonstrating the use of energy and focus of energy. That is what I'm demonstrating. I'm saying, look at this. I know you can't see it as clearly as you need to see it, but do this so that your eyes become a little more clear. You see how you create your reality. How you, that is a part of the teaching. I hesitate, it's weird, my teaching, because it's not my teaching, it's just an expression of what is. To say your life literally is in your hands. Whether you live or die to a point is in your hands. That night laying on that day, lying on that table, looking down at those people opening my body up, knowing I had a choice. I looked around, and there was a woman in the group at that time. Her name was Mariah. And that song always went through my head. They call the wind Mariah. I saw her sitting by my bedside, and she was crying. And it's like that thing of helping arose in me again. And I knew what the answer was between life and death. It was like I've still got, and I think a whole bunch of the people from New York were out in the park here in Chicago. And I mean, I lived on my reputation on all those people at that hospital for years. And I knew what the difference in life and death was. And that difference is in every human being. Now, we look at that and say, well, oh my God, that's impossible. No, it's not. The answers are all right there. Do you want? Do you want to go and get them and find out? Or is everyday bullshit what you really want? Okay. You got to pay your price. And the price is what you think you know. Simple as that. You have to take the risk. keep living. And you understand. You understand.
So when you say you create your own reality, is that, how much of that is paradigm, like how you see it, right? Because even in the question that you asked, right, when you were enlightened, it was like almost the opposite. There's the moment where you want to put the gun in your mouth, and then there's the opposite paradigm, which is, wow, this is all wonderful and all possibility, right? On some level. So how much, or is that not correct?
No, this sphere of things has its own rules. Now we can do this a couple of ways. By the collective consciousness of man, or by that collective conscious we call God. Okay, it has rules. We join into those rules. And one of those rules is justice. One of those rules of seeing the imperfection, the difference in each of us as we go along our journey in this world. How we exist at different levels in age, different levels in experience, inexperience, and experiences. Knowing that we cannot depend upon each other for justice. The law is you create your reality. That way justice is dispensed. You get what you deserve. In order to find out what that really means, we have to look at we think and what we do really means. And then we'll see it in our everyday life. So, but that's the way that is. That is a part of the law of the paradigm and the law of that which creates the paradigm for the purpose for which it is intended. And it is intended to be a learning device for God itself. We are each God itself looking through different eyes and with different awareness of ourselves. But all the information of all our experiences is transmitted back to this one thing. We call it God. It is for its growth. It created us to experience and to have growth itself. So we are that thing having that experience. We are it, yet we are something else, growing into it.
Right. We are God growing himself.
Exactly. Why? Because God is all there is. There is nothing else. So it's got to use itself.
Right. And then wow, so every creation we make that's the creation story, and that's love, right? Is then every spark that we have and create is adding to the love of the universe.
Exactly. There are things that I say they are so far out. Generally, it doesn't even pay to talk to people about. Everything that you've ever thought has a life of its own. And guess what? It's looking for you. It's looking for its God. It's looking for its creator. And when you learn to open up yourself and have that love inside of you, that love goes into your creation as the love of your creator goes into you. And the love of its creator flows into it.
So let me reiterate and see if I caught it all. Every thought that we've ever had has some life of its own, and it's looking for God, which is us.
And you're it.
And you're it, baby. And then the weird part of the equation is you were talking about finding love within us
Yeah.
for them to feel
Uh-huh.
that to find love within us to feed our creations, or how did that work? I don't know if I caught that.
That love, you see, as I explained it, Mother God, having that recognition, that movement, and instantly love, puts you puts you 2 steps removed from the absolute value of the whole thing.
Mm.
And that love takes you past that into that creator. Because that love extends from that creator. So it's like following a tractor beam into the Enterprise.
Mm.
That's the way it works. Is there any wonder I'm a weird dude?
No, I'm with you 100%. I'm with you. I mean, if you want to find a weird dude to have those conversations with, I'm all for it. So, and every time you say love like that, we're speaking of unconditional love.
Yes. Mm-hmm. The purity of love.
Yeah.
God the Son. You know, we like to say Jesus was the Son of God. Well, if you look at the word means Jesus. I forget the title now, but it translates the love. So it is the love, not the man, not the physical form. It's the love. So it's that pure love that goes right back to God. That's just, you don't love anything, you love everything. Because your love does not depend upon the thing. Your love is, because that is a part of the original creation. Your love just is. Now, as we go back into looking at things within us, we're going to find, we go, well, why is that? And the answer is because it is. It just is.
Mm-hmm.
That was the way it was created. Somebody said, why is it we have to die? Well, what makes you think dying is bad? This has to wear out. If you take something and make it form, part of the rules of form is if it begins, it ends.
And also,
Why?
how fun would this game be if there were no consequences?
Exactly.
It would almost be like, oh, you go in and you play a video game, and there's no way to win. You just run around all day, and you can never die. And it's just
exactly.
So it's got to have parameters. It's got to have limitations to make it a thing.
Yes. So we die. We move on. This isn't the only grain of sand on the beach. There are countless others. There are others that make absolutely no sense in terms of this. Makes absolute sense in terms of what they are. And these are things you learn and you grow and you learn and you grow, and you're creating universes as you learn and you grow. You are creating them, and those things that you create are creating them. And on and on and on. And it just gets to be, the only way you can understand it is to be absolutely still and let it be. Let it show you. That's the only way.
Is there any technique you suggest to, or exercise rather, to, you know, for the regular people who haven't gotten there, meaning myself, to touch that unconditional love? Is there a, you know, is there anything you recommend?
Mm-hmm. Feel. Stop denying your feelings.
Mm.
Okay. We have good feelings and we have bad feelings. I say to you, no, we only have one feeling. And that interpretation, your interpretation of that feeling is how you perceive it. You know, there's a part of that feeling early on in life. It's the same as, I don't know if you were, when you were a kid and you went over a hill too fast in a car, that feeling you got in the pit of your stomach. Some people run from that, but no, that is the beginning of that feeling. Sometimes we get so full, we think we're going to die and we stop. I say die. Go ahead, die. You'll be all right. You won't. Okay. When I was, I don't know, I somewhere around 7, I used to be, and it still is to a certain degree, I used to love movies. And where I came from, they had a double feature every Wednesday and every Saturday. And it cost, I think, 6 cents. And on Saturday, they had a double feature and a short. And when I was about 7, this thing used to happen to me all the time, most of my young life, where I would be standing or sitting or doing something. And my mind would stop. And this sound would come. And this light would come. And the feeling I get would be incredible. And information would just be there. And as I was doing it, I realized, man, I don't even care about going to the movies anymore. Oh, I locked my body back up. It went away.
Don't take my movies.
They'll take my movies. Now, when I was about 12, 13, somewhere in there, that same, these things kept coming to me because I was sitting one day and I was looking out the window when I was, I don't know, 7th, 8th grade, something like that. And I was looking out the window and there was this pond down a little bit from our school. We were kind of on a hill. I could see there. And that happened. Everything got quiet. And this plant, I could see this plant. This thing must have been 500 yards away. And it was moving toward me. And it moved toward me and it moved over me and I could feel it. And I realized it wasn't the plant. It was the light from the plant. And that we saw because it was the reflection off of something, the image we saw that made us think we saw things. Okay? Now, this was the kind of stuff that happened to me when quiet would come and this light would come. And I just blurted that out in class. And the teacher said, Einstein thought of that 3 years ago.
Right.
Like, well, okay. But now I would just said that to let you know the kind of things that happened when this would happen to me. And it was happening one day and I was just full with this feeling. And I realized I don't care about having sex anymore. And I had just started having sex.
Yeah.
Back. Okay, again. So what I'm saying is that light and that feeling was the purity of the beginning of creation for God itself. Pure love. pure, simple love. And those examples of what I did is how the mind prevents us from experiencing pure love, how it cuts it off. It
Right.
was fear of losing these things. I was a little kid. I just have started having sex. I want more of that. That's pretty good. You know? So that is the example. So what I'm saying to you, you have to go back to that root. The way you experience that is to feel. So what you have to do is let go of the things that prevent you from feeling, no
Mm-hmm.
matter whether they feel good or not. Your best uh, uh, chance is going to happen by feeling absolutely those things that feel bad to you,
Mm-hmm.
because they feel bad because the energy is not flowing. Once the energy is flowing, you begin to experience it more and more, and you begin to experience it as the pure love or the pure creative principle.
Mm.
So the simple thing, feel. It may not initially seem like, well, it's a good thing to do, but feel. It's the only thing you can do. You are felt by the body. This whole thing is a feeling of uh, touch, feeling. We say sight. Well, sight is light bouncing from something, touching the eye, translating. Smell is small particles of that thing in the air that you touch. Touch, taste. These are all one sense of
Mm.
touch, feeling. You feel it. Oh, this body, you feel the body. So feeling is the key. Feeling is the bottom line. So what do? We stop talking about it, relax, and just feel. If you don't talk about what you don't like to feel,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the very thing you need to feel. Because this universe, we have become frightened because we're children in the world. We come in as children. We're frightened because this thing is big and all this stuff. We don't know what the hell is going on as a baby. So that fear is created at a level that you've long forgotten because you've been away from it. You've been an adult. You ventured out into the world, however you ventured out, but that thing is still there. So we have to get down to that, get back to that original thing. Ah, to do that, we have to stop this by this. Okay. The story goes a student was riding in a car with his teacher, and they came upon a construction uh, zone, and the sign said stop. And the student looks at the master and says, teacher, how do you stop a mind? He said, with a heart,
Mm.
feeling. That's how you stop. It is going to bring you all manner of knowledge. And when it brings that knowledge, you have to accept it, regardless of, it's like, I hate to do this, but I'm going to do it. Hey, it's like your president. It was the best ever. I mean, there's three people in the audience. It was the biggest audience ever. You can't look at that, accept that lie, because what you see, the same thing. Don't doubt what comes to you.
Mm-hmm.
Relax, feel. Sometimes, you know, People will say, you ask them how they feel. Oh, I'm great. You ask me how I feel. I say, I feel like shit.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because it's just true.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, that's the way I feel. But my doctor used to get a big kick out of it. He said, how do you feel? I feel like shit, but not too bad. It's to say, feel. Feel it for what it is. For what it is. We never get to learn what it is until we experience it. Got to experience it to know it. You can't stand outside of it. And I see this with a lot of so-called spiritual people. They stand outside of it and want to know what it is.
Mm.
Can't do that. You stand outside of it. One of the reasons why I swear like a champ, because I want you to know both sides. Because you got those, oh no, it's not, you don't say dirty words. There are no dirty words in God.
Mm.
What do you say? So if you deny that, you're denying part of God. There are no dirty words. If
Well,
I tell you, if you say, how are you? And I say, I feel like shit, you get a reaction, right? That's how I feel. I just communicated to you how I feel.
mm-hmm.
You know, I got some, I don't know who you're going to show this to, so I've got some other things I could say that.
Go for it. Please speak as freely as you want, as you wish.
I would say, fuck you in the ass with a sandpaper dick. You have a reaction. That's what I'm communicating to you. Lost you.
I'm here.
That's what I'm communicating to you. You see what I'm saying? I'm
Yeah.
communicating. I'm communicating. So what's a dirty word?
Mm.
Dirtiness is in your mind. So when you stand on one side of that and claim to be spiritual,
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, you're just full of shit.
Well, is
And
there a duality there? Like almost there's, you know, the idea of being completely detached, and then tantra would be being completely the thing, right? So are those just two sides of feeling?
you have to understand what, you have to come to that word of detachment, what it really means. Because we have a twist on things from the purity of its meaning, you know, that it's not quite what it means. So to be detached means I don't have a certain kind of attachment to it, a false attachment, but I have a real attachment to it. That is, I understand it. Like I said, I have a detachment to you because I won't tell you what to do. I'll tell you what to do to understand what you do, which is the better, which is the better thing. My telling you what to do, or my telling you what to do for your advancement.
Right.
In that kind of detachment, there is love. You can't discount that love at its root of all feeling. Love is at the root of all feeling. So when we talk about these things, they are imbibed with love.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about detachment, people think that's the word detachment. Oh, well, that's not exactly the way it works. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, like almost conditional attachment versus unconditional
There you go.
attachment.
Yeah. If it is of the mind, it's pretty fucked up.
Right. Well, even taking a step back, what you were saying, I always think of this. There's a Charles Bukowski poem called, I think it's called Bluebird, and he talks about how he's all tough and fucking whores and drinking whiskey, but he has a small bluebird that he keeps in a cage, and he feeds him, but he only lets him out to sing every once in a while, but then he has to keep him locked away. And it's sort of, I always think of that poem like it's like sensitive people, a lot of us were sensitive when we were children, and we sort of learned to act to not deal with that with society and with the world. We were taught to lock that bluebird away and not to let it out. And you know, that's that feeling, that sensitivity. Like Maria makes fun of me because I will cry sometimes at the smallest things. Yeah. And it's and you recognize that feeling that's touching something. So you can't really fake that. I mean, you can be an actor and fake crying, but you can't really cry without feeling something.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. You know, I cry at least twice a week, at least. Because I watch movies. I watch movies. And there's stuff going on. It's like, oh man, you know. It's okay. That's the deal. See, one of the things, in a way, the old samurai had it right, in a way. I mean, they would engage in a fight and they'd be, whoa, yeah, man, wow. You know, that's love of life. You know, you love all the experiences of life. You respond, okay? Of all these responses, if you have not been taught, some of them are wrong. Okay, we've taught. Let's just say, what is that commandment? Says, "Thou shalt not kill." Well, that's not true. Thou shalt not murder. There's a difference. One is done. Murder is from here. Killing doesn't have to be from here. You will have a feeling about that. But at the same time, one of the things I learned, life was like a football game. Those close encounters and that kind of thing created a kind of energy in you. It was like, wow. And sometimes when you're scuffling for your life, that energy comes up. It's like, wow. This is where the idea of honor and all that crap comes from. I don't want to do that anymore, but excuse me. But it all depends upon how you do life. You can do it with joy, as long as you're not angrily doing things. It's okay. The thing that's bad about it is when it's what you're doing hurts you. I think the Buddhist says, it was Buddha who said, I guess stupidity is drinking poison and hoping to kill somebody else. Something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So when you take that poison from here and make it do things to your body, that's what's happening. It's with joy that we live life. It's okay. Then we introduce God into life. When we do it with love and with caring. You know, when you do it that way, you change life. It doesn't matter where you march or whatever, but you change the energy of life. And every little bit counts. That's why they say if you got 10 people meditating, it'll affect 1,000 others. Just by you sitting and meditating. So if you got that many people and double that, oh man, pretty soon the whole thing wakes up and goes, oh, wait a minute, because it's in the air.
Mm.
It's in the air, and you can't help but, you have a sender receiver here. You can't help but receive it. Now, what you do with it is a whole other thing. You may shut it off, but it's still there. One of the things that I say when I say certain things is to plant the seed so that someone hears it. Not that they're going to get it now. 10 years from the day it may pop up in their brain, they think they thought of it, but it doesn't work. It doesn't matter. It's there. Oh, this is what that means.
Mm.
And it works the same way.
You were talking about meditation and helping people, and I was thinking about the protests, and what if people were just gathering and meditating instead of marching?
Yeah.
And then I thought about, oh, Black Lives Matter signs, all lives matter signs. What if it was all love matters and a group of meditators?
Yeah.
Maybe it's some sort of seed of something.
It is something, and it should be investigated. I think if we just
sorry, go ahead.
If
I
we
was going
just
to say, maybe just love matters. Forget all.
Yeah.
Forget,
Yeah.
just, that's it.
Yeah. That would be in the energy, yes. But if you had a sign that said love matters, you're going to find an idiot that says it doesn't.
Well, those will be the interesting people, right?
Yeah.
Who comes out? I mean, it's the question. It's also the question, I guess, that MLK and Gandhi asked when they invented nonviolent protest, is who comes out against a nonviolent protester? Yeah. Then you sort of know, okay, that person's a problem.
Yeah.
Take it even another level. You're not even marching. You're not even protesting. You're just sitting, meditating with a sign that says love. Who's going to come out against that?
An idiot. They do. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen. You know? I've seen people say, love, man. You remember, I don't know how old you are, but I think it was the 64 convention in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
All those people, love, man. What did the Chicago cops do? Beat them in the head. That's when Mayor Daley said, the Chicago cops are not against disorder. We're here to preserve disorder. It's like, yeah, you're right. So all I'm saying is you're always going to find that that element.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be there. It has to be there in order for this to happen. Rising. It has to.
Yeah.
So you just take what you can get. Ultimately, in 800 years, you won't recognize the place.
And I guess
it's slow.
It's our choice. Is it gonna be Charlton Heston showing up like, damn you, or will it be Star Trek and we'll be like, oh my God, this is, look, there are Klingons and Vulcans and we're all friends. I don't know.
Oh man, yeah.
All right, that might be a good. I don't want to keep you too long. That was a pretty strong conversation, I think.
Good. I hope you got out of it what you need to do what you want.
Do you have any last words, last message for?
Well, I used to say, read the living book. That's what you are. Find out what you're not so that you become what you are. That's about it.
You are the living book.
Read it.
Read it. Scrape away what you aren't to find
Yes.
what you are,
Yes.
and then be that.
Yeah. All right.
Perfect.
Give my best to Maria.
I will. I love you, Ananda. Thank you so
Love
much.
you too, Brian. Peace.
Peace.